Please, can someone help me? The trembling voice came from a little girl standing alone in the middle of the bustling airport, her white cane tapping uncertainly against the cold floor. 8-year-old Emily Crown, blind since birth, had lost her father in the crowd. Her tiny fingers clutched a stuffed teddy bear, the only thing keeping her from falling apart. The noise around her was deafening, announcements echoing, luggage wheels rolling, people rushing past with no time to notice the little girl standing still in fear. Her father, a billionaire constantly busy with business meetings and phone calls, had just stepped away for a few minutes to take an urgent call. But in that short time, the world had become a frightening maze for Emily. She called out again, her voice cracking, but no one turned to help. Everyone was too busy, too distracted to see her shaking hands or hear the quiver in her voice. Daniel, an aging janitor with tired eyes and a mop in his hands, stopped mid-swipe. He had seen countless travelers in his 20 years of cleaning the airport, but something about the fragile sound of her plea struck deep inside him. He put down his mop and watched her for a moment, small, lost, and trying to be brave. His heart ached. She reminded him of his own daughter, Mia, whom he hadn't seen in over a decade. His mistakes had pushed her away, the drinking, the anger, the nights he chose the bottle instead of being a father. The guilt lived with him every day, but he never thought he'd get a chance to make anything right again. He approached slowly so he wouldn't scare her. "Hey there," he said softly. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" Emily turned toward the sound of his voice, her cloudy blue eyes unfocused yet filled with hope. "I can't find my daddy," she whispered. "He was here, and then he wasn't." Daniel's chest tightened. He knelt beside her, his voice calm and steady. "It's okay. I'll help you find him, I promise." Her small hand reached out, searching, and he gently took it. For a moment, Daniel forgot who he was, a janitor with a past, and just felt like a father again. They started walking through the crowded terminal. Daniel guided her carefully, describing what was around them so she wouldn't feel lost in the noise. "There's a bench to your right, sweetheart. We're walking past a coffee shop now. It smells like cinnamon, doesn't it?" She nodded and smiled faintly. Every time she smiled, it healed something inside him. As they moved along, Daniel noticed people staring, some with pity, others with confusion, but he didn't care. All that mattered was keeping Emily safe. Minutes turned into an hour. They stopped at information counters, described her father, but there was no sign of him yet. Daniel could see exhaustion on Emily's face, so he sat her down near a quiet corner. "Would you like some water?" he asked gently. She nodded, and he went to buy a bottle with the little cash he had. When he returned, she was hugging her teddy bear tightly. "Thank you," she said softly. "You're very kind." Her words made his throat tighten. No one had called him kind in years. As they rested, Emily began to talk about her dad. "He's really busy all the time," she said. "He talks to people about money and meetings, but he always tells me I'm his favorite person." Daniel smiled faintly. "He must love you very much." "He does," she replied, "but sometimes I think he forgets that I can't see like everyone else. He always says he'll slow down one day." Her voice trembled slightly, and Daniel felt tears burn his eyes. How many times had his own daughter said something similar before he lost her completely? They started walking again, this time heading toward the security area where Daniel thought the father might return. Every step was heavy with emotion. Emily kept talking, trusting him completely now. "You sound like a dad," she said suddenly. He stopped for a moment, looking at her. "I used to be," he whispered. She tilted her head. "Used to?" He nodded. "I wasn't a very good one. I made mistakes, and my daughter, she doesn't talk to me anymore." Emily frowned gently, her voice soft and pure. "Maybe she's waiting for you to say sorry." The words hit him harder than anything he'd heard in years. As they neared the waiting area, Daniel spotted a man in a suit running, calling out desperately, "Emily! Emily!" The little girl gasped. "That's my daddy," she said, squeezing Daniel's hand. "Can you take me to him?" He smiled through tears. "Of course, sweetheart." Together they walked toward the voice, and when her father saw them, he dropped his briefcase and ran, scooping Emily into his arms. The reunion was pure emotion, her tiny hands clinging to his face, his tears falling onto her hair. Daniel stood a few steps back, wiping his eyes quietly. The father turned to him, still holding his daughter. "You found her?" he asked, voice shaking. "Sir," Daniel said, "she found me." For a moment, the billionaire just looked at him, as if seeing past the uniform. "Thank you," he said, voice thick with emotion. "You've given me back what money could never buy." Daniel smiled weakly and nodded, turning to leave. As he walked away, Emily called out, "Goodbye, Mr. Daniel. I'll tell my daddy to slow down." He turned back just enough to smile and wave. As the crowd swallowed him again, Daniel felt something change inside him. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a man defined by his mistakes. He felt redeemed, not by money or apology, but by the simple act of helping a lost child find her way home. Hours later, after searching every corner of the airport, Daniel finally heard a desperate voice echoing through the terminal, "Emily! Emily!" The man's tone carried panic, heartbreak, and fear all at once. Emily froze for a moment, her little head turning toward the sound. "That's my daddy," she whispered, her tiny hands trembling as if afraid to believe it. Daniel's heart swelled with relief. He gently squeezed her hand and guided her toward the voice. When her father saw her, his precious blind daughter clutching her teddy bear and holding a janitor's hand, he dropped everything and ran, his expensive briefcase crashing to the floor. Emily's cane fell as she let go and rushed forward, guided only by her heart. She collided with her father's arms, and he caught her tightly, wrapping her in a hug so fierce it seemed as if he would never let her go again. Both were crying, and even though the airport was crowded, the world seemed to stop for them. The billionaire sank to his knees, holding Emily's face in his hands. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," he whispered through tears. "I'll never leave you alone again." She touched his face and smiled faintly, recognizing the warmth of his voice. "It's okay, Daddy. Mr. Daniel helped me. He stayed with me the whole time." Her father turned his gaze to Daniel, the janitor standing a few steps away, still holding his mop and backpack. His clothes were worn, his shoes old, but his expression carried something priceless: kindness. The billionaire's throat tightened. He walked up to Daniel and, without caring who was watching, he bowed his head slightly. "How can I ever repay you?" he asked, voice trembling. Daniel looked at the man's designer suit and polished shoes, then at the little girl smiling up at him. For a second, he saw his own daughter's face in hers. He swallowed hard, emotions welling up in his chest. "You don't owe me anything, sir," he said softly. "Just call your daughter every night. Never let her feel alone." The man's eyes filled with tears again, and he nodded slowly. In that moment, he wasn't a billionaire, he was just a father who had almost lost everything. Emily reached for Daniel's hand one last time and said, "Thank you, Mr. Daniel. You made me feel safe." He smiled gently and patted her hand. "You're a brave girl, Emily. Don't ever forget that." As Daniel turned to leave, he could feel the weight of years lifting from his shoulders. Each step away from them felt like shedding another layer of regret. He had spent so long believing he was nothing but a broken man, a failure, a drunk who'd lost his family. But today, just for one day, he had been someone's hero. He walked slowly toward the janitor's closet, where his old jacket hung and his mop leaned against the wall. The airport noise faded behind him, replaced by a quiet voice inside that said, "You did good." He reached into his pocket and felt the cold metal of his sobriety coin. He rubbed it between his fingers, remembering